This is Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. And today I got a special guest coming into the studio to hang out with Uncle Stu. You may have seen her on these YouTube streets, but tonight you're going to meet the real woman, better known as Raw B Privilege. So let us bring in the one, the only, Robbie. What's going on? What's going on?
Nothing much. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. I just want to tell you, thank you for coming in and definitely being able to do this interview. And what are you about in the sense of what are you trying to do, on your platform?
Well, on my platform, I came to YouTube to deal with maladaptive behaviors in the African American community. As I sit back and I watch content, I notice that a lot of people are super lost. It's really clear that people weren't raised right, and they have no, sense of purpose, sense of self. They're just kind of like doing whatever they got to do just to hustle and survive in the streets. And it's just like, ooh, child, what? Who raised you? What are we doing? That's not how any of this is supposed to work. It's supposed to be about community. It's supposed to be about growing. YouTube for me has always been a platform where people share the best parts of themselves.
Okay.
And instead of seeing that, I see people sharing the worst parts of others. And it's just sad to me.
How long have you been on YouTube?
I've been on YouTube for almost 5 years now.
You said earlier about how people was raised. Where was you raised at? What kind of, what was your background? What is your background? The sense of your family and everything else before you came to YouTube?
Well, my mother and my father are veterans. My mother is an Air Force vet. My father's a Navy vet. I was raised in New York City, and then when my father passed away, we moved to upstate New York. I'm originally from Harlem, though. When we moved upstate, it was such a juxtaposition to life.
Oh, okay. All right. You Polo Grounds. And then when you moved upstate, would you move to Buffalo?
No. Actually, we moved to Westchester first. We lived in Peekskill for a while on Mohegan Lake. And then we moved up to Wappingers Falls. So you already know. You're a New York guy. You already know.
Yeah, I got you. So your experience growing up in New York, you came from a military family, as if I switch the camera back, that gentleman, my father, he just passed away. That's Air Force. That Army, That's all me right there.
Yes.
But growing up in New York and now leaving New York, and we're going to speed up the timeline. Now you're here. What are some of the things you've been through that you said, hey, I now need to be a voice or an advocate or an educator to some of the social dysfunctions that I see?
Life? No, seriously though. When you grow up, that's what I was gonna say, the juxtaposition. When you grow up in the city and it's real gritty, and then you move to small town USA, which Wappingers is not really too small, but it's small enough.
Right.
Where you're always wanting to go back home, going to the city. So I was one of these code switch kids. During the week, I'm all prim and proper. On the weekend, I'm on the metro. We down in Westchester, we in the city, turned up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I've been really blessed that I've seen all different type of people, all walks of life, financially, geographically. It's a lot. So just living life, just looking at how people move and how they act. I'll say this, it's a delicate balance to live a G code. You know what I'm saying? A little bit gangster.
Right.
When you look at how people that are really getting things done are living, there's always a code that they have to abide by in order to get things done. When you're looking at people on social media, they have no code. It's whatever's trending, it's whatever's popping, it's whatever's going to give them a click and a view. And it's disturbing to me.
My question then would be, is that their code versus your code when we talk about codes? In other words, they found a code in order to operate on these YouTube streets. Similar to, you have people that's just straight street, and they'll say there's a code on the street. The street operates one way. Now you come up into my neighborhood doing foolish stuff, we got our own code. So we don't have a problem calling the police on that situation. Where other areas say that's their code. Do you think YouTube just got that, at least this section of YouTube kind of got that code, or is there a standard that it should be as opposed to the way you see it?
There's a standard that should be. I mean, I also come from an era where my family was very active in the NAACP and, like, you know what I'm saying, civil rights and Black power and Black unity. So when I look at people, I'm looking for the unity.
Right.
It's every man for themselves in the land of lawlessness. It's a bunch of crabs in a barrel trying to get a dollar.
Right.
And, I'm an 80s baby. So growing up in the 80s, people were more so like, all right, if I have an extra cup of sugar, let me help you with this extra cup of sugar so that you can have a cup of sugar too. Now it's, well, I got 10 cups of sugar and you don't even have a teaspoon of sugar. So you not nothing.
Wow. What? Right. With that being said, what would be your way of fixing it, or is it too late when you talk about community, basically on the YouTube streets or even on the streets?
I mean, it's so much work to be done. I don't want to think that it's too late to fix the community, but you have people that are marauded. They believe that a 6-figure income is what you need to survive. Right. And they're not even understanding that a 6-figure income for the African American community versus other communities is really still poverty.
Number one, if you tell me 6 figures, my parents was making that in the 80s, so I didn't hear the 6-figure stuff until I got on YouTube. That's number one. Number two, I don't really think a lot of people, and again, I'm going to handle that on this platform, I don't think they really understand the economics behind a lot of the, if you want to call it, talking points. Do you really know how much you have to have income just to keep a wife at home? And that's based on what city you live in. If you're going to try that route, that takes a lot of money. The average Black person does not make that kind of money. When you start talking about what the average Black male makes in the United States, $55,000 based on where you live is lost and headed towards lower middle class to almost going into poverty, especially with interest rates and all of the fine tuning of the numbers. So I get it. Have you ever been married? Are you married? Children?
Yes, I have 2 children and I have been married. I mean, I have an ex-husband. Things didn't work out, which is why I'm in Arkansas now. But
Let me ask you this. After you, I say, divorced, how did you transition from going through your marriage, going through divorce, and not having the bitterness? Or did you have the bitterness and you had to kind of overcome the bitterness?
I mean, because I think I'm a lot more mature than a lot of other people. At the end of the day, things don't work out, or sometimes they do. And when you're going through life, like, you have to put your best foot forward until the very end. Me knowing that I did everything that I could in my marriage, it's not, it just didn't work. And that's okay. It's kind of like a science experiment, right? Okay. So if you're trying to distill something pure from something that's impure, you'll try a myriad of different ways to do that.
Right.
Each way may not work, but you keep trying. And then sometimes you get the pure element that you're trying to get, and sometimes you don't.
What do you feel you learned from that experience? If I was to ask you the question of, tell me why you got divorced, what part of your divorce or your marriage would you say you played versus what he may have played?
He wanted me to be somebody that I wasn't.
Okay.
So, and I loved him enough to try to be that person, but that just wasn't me. I'm too driven and I'm too ambitious. So what I learned from that is I cannot be with someone that wants a wife that's just going to sit down and be still, because that's just not who I am.
So it really isn't a bitterness against him. Y'all came to a point where it was like he wanted one thing, you wanted something else, and it wasn't like, oh, he's just this bad dude. It was more of meeting of the unminds. In other words, he wanted you to basically stay home, and that just wasn't you.
I mean, I still stay home now. I'm a stay-home mom now. However, he wanted me to not be focused on my other endeavors.
Okay.
And
do you want to share
creative.
That, or is that private?
Oh no, some of my endeavors are, they're part of it is YouTube. YouTube, my editing business, my art galleries and things like that. Like, I have a whole business plan in accordance with this the purpose of being here, the maladaptive behaviors. So
Okay.
on top of like being a part of governor councils and everything else, like
Hmm.
my day is pretty busy. But we also have a child that has autism. So when you're dealing with children that have special needs, it's my opinion that you have to be as involved as possible. My involvement into my child's process has opened a lot of doors and opportunities for me because a lot of parents aren't necessarily fighting as hard as I fight. I can't tell the people no because ultimately that has opened doors for my child,
Right.
and it's afforded me the opportunity to help other people in a similar situation.
Can you talk about that autism? Kind of explain it to the people that may not really understand it. I've worked in education, so I'm very aware of it.
Mhm.
I worked around kids who was autistic, but explain that for people and some of the struggles that you go through and other families go through raising an autistic child.
So, autism is a spectrum disorder. It is for children that are neurodivergent, which means they have difficulties with either speech or sensory or physical, interaction. And depending on where they fall in that spectrum, some people have like Asperger's, which is really a light thing where they may not be as affectionate. So, they can do some therapies to kind of bring that balance back. And some children are severe, and adults as well. They're severe. They are not able to communicate verbally at all,
Mm.
which is very frustrating, which causes them to lash out. And then they have sensory issues and, physical issues that need to be therapized. So it's a lot that goes on. Currently, I actually sit on a council for the Center for Disease Control, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and we go
Mm.
around and we're family advocates. So in outlying regions, we bring educational tools and show those families how to be able to notice signs early. Because if you have a
Mhm.
child that has autism, it is always best to catch it early. If you have a baby or infant and you see them constantly like staring at the ceiling or staring at fans and they're doing like a lot of finger play, you may want to bring that up to a physician. That's an early sign of autism, just to get them
Wow.
checked out.
How do you handle your mental health having to do all the things that you have to do as a parent? Like what would you tell a parent that is listening right now and maybe don't, online? I don't hear about autism a lot online, in the sense of people really being in connection with that.
I mean, I'm just blessed.
Okay.
Like, I'm blessed the way my family raised me.
Hmm.
There is
Hmm.
no room for failure. So no matter if I want to quit, no matter if a day is rough or whatever, them babies come first always. And God gives me enough strength every day to make it through. And
Is there enough resources out there? Because I know each education is a state by state. Is there
mhm.
enough resources financially out there to help get a child through, get a parent through, get a family through?
I mean, yes and no.
Okay.
So they have insurance, which most states do have insurance that will cover the needs of a child with, autism or any child with special needs, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, different things of that nature. But things like Social Security, supplemental income insurance, if you have an income, they're not going to give your child money.
Right.
So that's a thing where they don't really help. When it comes to some of the schools require you to pay tuition. So depending on how you're able to get prescriptions written, how you're able to communicate with your child's pediatrician, you may not have coverage for that. Like,
Hmm.
it's a whole world of like medical billing and coding. You have to really understand how
Right.
to explain the process to your doctor so that they write it up correctly in documentation. Currently, we have a situation with my son where he has a speaking device. The device speaks for him, but the physician has to write the prescription up a certain way in order for it to be approved by the state insurance so that he can have the device. And things
Wow.
are getting better. Yeah, things are getting better for children with special needs because people like me are actually involved in the governmental process. Like right now, I'm dealing with a committee that is helping to rewrite the coding and
Hmm.
rewrite the law for medical billing for children to get early intervention. So, it's a lot. It's a lot that be going on.
Cool. You know, take a deep breath. I can see that it's really an overwhelming situation, you know, overwhelming in the sense of having to do the research, having to, know more, just to be a true advocate, in that fight. So I'm also an advocate on the other side. I'm also doing videos, getting ready to produce some videos with children that goes into the foster care system. So, I want to be, kind of out there for the people, even though I personally is never in foster care. I personally don't have, an autism child, but I do know the struggle because I've seen it, firsthand. So I commend you for being that woman that is an advocate, for being somebody that is, do have, that autism child and saying, hey, I'm out here, I know the struggle, I know the pain. And, I think that's a
Thank you.
side of you that nobody really knows. I mean, at least I never knew, so I commend you for opening up and even just talking about that. If people wanted to get a better knowledge, get a better understanding, where would they go to get that knowledge, to get that understanding?
Well, they could come to my channel and memberships. Like a lot of things that I do with like the different councils and stuff like that, I share it to the members on my channel. And
Okay.
but also like you can just go to different websites. The CDC actually has a great website on early intervention. So you guys can check that out. Go to cdc.com, type in early intervention in the search bar, and they have a lot of tools and tricks that you can actually look at to get more help. You guys can also reach out to me, Ruby Privilege at thebutterflyprogressive.com, and I'll be more than happy to assist you with any information that I have. But also, people love YouTube, right? So
Mhm.
anybody that has young children, there are several videos that show you what children that are neurotypical do
Mhm.
and how they respond to certain stimuli during their developmental process, which is a good medium to know if you need to have further evaluation with your physician. So if you
Mhm.
type in normal, behavior for a 2 month old, it's going to pull up a video for you and it's going to show you like an APGAR test that they do as children progress 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, so on and so forth. And you can
Right.
do the same activities at home. And if your child is not responding the way that is, on film, then
Right.
okay, that might be a problem. That's let's go see the doctor about that. But
With all that you got going on, how's the dating life, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, she done
you
blushed
know,
on me.
you know,
How is it out there?
they say I don't got no game, so my phone dry. My phone dry. I'll be like, ooh, it's going.
Look, there's Uncle Stu. No phone dry. I don't play that 35 and alone. Like, I don't think you trying to have any kids, so that don't even matter. So, yeah.
Listen, I let people on YouTube think whatever they want to think, honey.
Now you in another state. Do you plan to stay there?
you know, for now it's good because one thing about these appointments to these councils, once you're appointed for a period of time. So if they
Mhm.
decide to reappoint me, then I'll still be here. If they decide they don't want to leave my services, then I'll be somewhere else. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of laid back and low key. I just take life as it comes. Because
I
once,
hear
yeah, once I left New York and I'm making it,
you. Mm-hmm.
I go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I left New York. Oh Lord, it's been over 25 years. No, yeah, a little bit more than that because I left New York, moved to North Carolina, stayed there for about 17. Then I came, here to Virginia. And right now, I don't see me moving, although I got people like trying to pull me to Georgia, some trying to pull me to South Carolina. So it's like, nah, right now I'm good. I'm good. I'm living my best life right now. Me and my wife, we happy. If I left, I'd probably be taking more trips overseas, because
Mhm.
I'm planning to take her overseas a couple of times just so that she can, get that out of America treatment. Yeah.
You trying to be a passport bro while you married?
A passport, bro. I'm a traveler. I'm not a.
You know I had to say it. You know I had to say it.
I am a world traveler. I've traveled the world over 2 times already. And I think I think a lot of people need to travel so that they can see what's really happening. I think my only sad part about this whole situation, that whole passport situation, is I don't have a problem if you're saying argument, hey, I don't really want you to travel, or not for certain reasons. At the same time, don't be over here, and I'm gonna just say black women for right now. You don't want people from overseas saying you're lazy, you're a bum, you're this, you're that, and then you're turning around and telling first world country women that they're everything that you're not really understanding. Because when I traveled overseas, because there's a whole black Germany that everybody doesn't know about. There's a black Italy that everybody doesn't know about. There's a whole black British people don't know about. So there's
the Sicilians.
Exactly. A lot of people don't realize that even when you talk about the Philippines, what everybody don't know is there's a lot of areas of the Philippines, thanks to the military, there's a whole lot of black people in the Philippines. You have a lot of half black, half Filipinos in the Philippines. There was a time, and I forgot the date, and it wasn't that long ago, where there was a great migration from black Filipinos who ended up coming into America. Why? Because most of their fathers, was Army, Air Force, Marines, whole lot of them. So,
Don't say that. Don't say that. Ain't no black people, only black people in America. This is America.
Only black people in America.
They don't know about them black Japanese either. Shout out to my friend Paris. They be like, Japanese people are, and I be like, really? Because I know a half black, half Japanese dude that's like 6'8", but
yeah, I mean, and that's why I have not done any really videos dealing with the Passport Brothers or video, because it's like, I'm not even going to argue with people that I know have never even been out of the 4 blocks they live in versus the state they live in versus the country.
Exactly.
It's like, are you kidding me? Did you study slavery? That's number one. Do you realize that they sent everybody all over the world? Second, have you studied the military? Do you realize the military goes all over the world? So just this concept of black men going, I'm like, they've been doing that for decades. This ain't new. White folk do it. Everybody does it. What are you talking about? And when you talk about, especially in the 90s, when you talk about business, because my business is international, when you talk about business, if my dollar only is worth 50 cents here, then I can go, not Britain, I can go into India, and that same American dollar is worth $2 in India. That means I can live a whole lot better life in India than I can in my own country. If you look at the finances, I look at the economy. Yeah. But no, if I had to define myself, it would probably be, if I had to go that route, it would be a traveler. I'm not looking for a wife. I told mine, if she leave, I was bold. I said I wouldn't date nobody else in America, though. It's the struggle. The struggle. You know what it is for me, and I'm very honest. Before I met my wife, I wasn't really ready for a relationship, but I met some of the issues I see guys talk about, but I just had the maturity. I wasn't going to lay down with a woman that didn't have at least what I had. Now, I didn't have these high expectations. I just knew that I done raised my kids. So I ain't about to take on a woman, and then you got 4 grandkids because your daughter don't want to take care of the kid. It's like, oh no, I ain't going back into raising children. Now, it's a beauty to be a grandparent, but I can send my grandson back. You know what I'm saying?
You made a decision because you was a grown up and ain't nobody forced you to put your penis in nobody's vagina. No, 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 Uncle Stu. No, no, no. It's on the women to protect their womb because, men just can't help themselves. I can't call it.
Ooh, that's another conversation. But no,
No.
you said something. So I think that's a decent argument. You can make that argument by saying, is really accountability on both sides. Do I understand certain things on one side over the other? I understand both sides. I understand both sides of the argument better than people know. Because for me, I've been through divorce. I've raised daughters. I've been the single parent. I've been through DV. You know, I've been through the struggle. Yeah, I was a victim of DV. But at the same time, I knew how I got through all of that and kept it pushing. There's areas of my life where I say, if I didn't do this or if I wasn't in this position, then they wouldn't have led to this. So I knew how to balance both my part versus their part. I always say, yeah, there's certain things that I'm not going to sit up there and say, oh, yeah, being in DV, it was my fault. No, there was some other things that, you know what I'm saying, if I didn't do, if I would have been aware of, if keeping family out of your marriage, there's a whole myriad of things that has to take place and had to have that conversation. Right now, I'm just trying to build. A lot of brothers ain't talking to me because, you know what I'm saying? I'm raw. I'm raw. So if you don't live that raw life, I can't make
raw.
you different. Yeah. Yeah, you raw B. I'm just the old man. But I've been through all of that. So I understand what you're coming from, you know. And that's why I say, for this platform, it's more going to be focused on self-development. Either you want to grow and build or you want to grow and complain. And to me, I don't want to be in the side of complaining. If you're going through these issues, there's several ways to get out of the issue. But I've been on YouTube over a year. I haven't had one man tell me, how do you go to court and fight for your child? I had my daughter ever since she was 6 months. And come May, she about to graduate with a master's degree. Don't play with me. You're talking about 28 years ago. So I know how to go to court, get your child. I know how to do all of that. And remind you, when I got my daughter, I was a man. That's a little girl. Do you know the complexity of trying to fight for a girl, the opposite sex? But I won.
No, Uncle Stu.
And
No,
I did
Uncle
it in
Stu.
New York.
No, Uncle Stu, because family. No, Uncle. No, Uncle Stu. No, the family court system is only skewed towards the mother. Now, when Destiny done told these dudes that 60% of fathers that go to court and actually fight for their rights to get custody, they said that was an antiquated stat. And I'm just like, dang, Zaddy, like, y'all, any excuse would do to not even attempt to fight. Because even if I know I'm finna lose a fight, you finna know you fought me.
Well, the statistics, the actual stats say that at least CDC, 45% of the United States of America is married, 36% is headed by female household, 6% is headed by male household. Over the last 12 years, the average rise of single parents in the sense of males has been escalating in the last 10 years. So yes, I'm the male advocate in the sense of go get your kids. I'm the male advocate that says court systems are changing. But that doesn't fly with the narrative. So I can't, I don't say nothing. I just let men know. If you wanna, come talk to Uncle Stu and I'll tell you how to get it.
But they don't.
Hey, I can't answer.
Did I say that out loud?
You can, and it's gonna still be on video. I ain't gonna cut it out. If that's how you feel, then that's how you feel.
Yeah, that is how I feel.
Yeah, my job on the interview is not to be sitting here going back and forth with what you believe, what you think, what you feel. This is not what they call it. What's that platform?
Debate club.
And all this debate, arguing. Yeah, I don't have that over here. Mine is for intellectual conversations.
I'm not playing with you, Uncle Stu. But this is the this is the thing. They don't want their children by the default of what they say out of their own face. Because ultimately, at one point my father and my mother were not together, right?
Uh-huh.
My mother never stopped my father from seeing me. But my father also never let life be an excuse not to see me. Like, it was to a point that my mother didn't want my father to know where I went to school. But every time he came around, go ahead, spend time with your daughter. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm listening to certain men talk, I'm just like, what kind of man are you? Shout out to Ray Charles. That whole song be playing in my head. What kind of like, y'all don't.
Well, I fully understand what you're saying. Number one, I met women the same way, that didn't put their fathers in the child support court, didn't do a whole lot of stuff. For me, I've always taught my daughters, don't let me be the excuse of your failure, meaning don't look for something that I've done wrong and then use that as your crutch going in, be the better, always be better. Two youngest daughters, both went to college, got degrees. One is married, the other one getting ready to get a master's. My oldest daughter, who I've had on a platform several times, we've talked about our relationship, being separated out of her life. And by the time I got back in her life, 10 years old, and then what the traumas that we went through when she became, from 10 to 20. And it took us almost 32 years to mend that type of relationship. She spent Christmas with me just last year, and we talk all the time, but we talked about that on my platform. She explains to people, hey, I've been through a rough life, and what that was like, what it's like to be without a father, what it's like to be in a house where you went from peace to chaos, and, all of this stuff. One of the things that we talked about this about a couple of days ago, and I'm really trying to figure out how to put this in a video, listening to her, and as she was talking, I don't think a lot of people understand that regardless of the mother arguing, the father arguing, the child don't give a hoot. And in the conversations, we tend to forget the child don't care. When I listen to my oldest daughter, at the end of the day, she didn't care, and when I say that, I say it with strength. She didn't care about my dad, may he rest in peace, and my mom, and her grandparents, in the sense of whatever they did or couldn't do, or her mom or me. It was, did you love me? So the argument really becomes not about, oh, well, I couldn't see you because of this, or, this was happening, no, that was happening. What effort did you make? Are you willing to admit certain things in your part? And I think that's the crutch of, no, I can't let certain arguments go. Is there a small percentage where I can say the woman did this and do foolish stuff? Yes. But is that a large number? I just can't accept that large number. I can't. I'm just an advocate for do whatever you got to do. I don't care if you taking money, put in a trust fund somewhere, and then if you catch your child and say, look, show you that I love you, I saved up 10 grand for you. Let's get this communication. Me and my daughter, we have been on lives together. It was about 2-3 videos. My daughter did one with Mosaic, TJ Randolph's daughter. So we've been out there. So our story is out there. I don't get the big YouTubers shouting at my channel and talking about that situation. I don't get big YouTubers talking about BV. So I don't get those conversations.
Because it's easier and it's more revenue driving to say that, Black women are horrible, fathers can't see their kids, blah, 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 all the drama. Like, the drama is what sells, not the truth. And a lie will travel around the world several times before the truth makes it one. So, I feel like if you're gonna interact in social media at all, you just got to go into it knowing, all right, it's about to be a whole crap show, because that's what it is. It's a crap show.
But I always going to stick to my truth. You know what I'm saying? But I try to also get the voices on both sides, because I've been telling women, come up on the platform, come talk to me, come hear a conversation. I can't even get right, because if you're fake, I'm gonna call you fake too. If you ain't coming with the truth, I gotta call you out.
No, don't
I gotta call you out.
Not fake.
But no, when I used to do a whole lot of lives, I always had the platform open. Hey, you got a debate, you got a pushback, come up. Let's talk about it. I don't know if it's because I do have a wife and it's like, yeah, I've been divorced. I remarried. I've been through all of this stuff. So come talk. One of the things and I've said this on my platform many times, I'll defend the right of the red pill to speak. Meaning, as a veteran, I know what it's like not to be able to communicate. I'm not going to sit up there and say, well, I'm going to do all this stuff and just shut the red pill down. No, let them speak. Why? Because I do know that there's a space where black men couldn't speak. I came through the 90s, saw what happened. Young men have a right to speak, to emote, to try to figure out life. Because for me, I had a father, I have uncles, I had this pile of men around me. I do recognize that although I may have not have had their experience, I do recognize, okay, if you didn't have any males, then you're in a whole different category. So I don't have that problem, but I understand what they're saying. The problem I have is, young lady, if you don't understand what they're saying, come talk to me. I'm calm, I'm civil. Why are you running to other platforms where you're going to hurt women? And I'm sitting up here saying, no, I need you to understand this is what they're saying. This is how do you translate this. You know, you're saying, well, I want a man that got emotions. Well, I'm trying to tell you, these are men with emotions, but they may not have the deep vocabulary to be able to articulate the emotions. You know, these are men that I'm not always going to say they got baby mama issues, because not all of them got children. You know what I'm saying? They're just trying to navigate this thing called life.